Okay, so this is to go through the multiple choice questions of the standard level May exam. So this first question is about water striders and being able to walk on the surface of the water. So what allows small light insects to be able to walk on the surface of the water? It's high surface tension, which is due to the fact that the water molecules stick to themselves, which is cohesion. So B is your answer there. So then which codon would be found in RNA but not in DNA? So in RNA we have U and not T, and in DNA we have A and T, and obviously also C and G, right? But not U. So GTU, that can't exist. UCA, that could exist. ATC, that could exist but definitely not in RNA. And CGC, it could exist, but it could be in either DNA or an RNA, so the answer is B. So then it asks you about which two structures are correctly identified, so it's worth just identifying the structures. So that's the cell wall, and that's a plasmid, then that's the DNA, 4 would be the cytoplasm, 5 would be a ribosome, and 6 would be the cell membrane. So if you've done that, then you can go and say cell. So 1 is the cell wall, yes. 2 is a vesicle, no, so not A. 3 is a chromosome, yes. 4 is the matrix, no, so not B. 5 is ribosome, yes. And 6 is the cell membrane or the plasma membrane, yes. And just double checked, 3 is the nucleus, no. Okay, so that leaves us with a question with the answer being C. Number 4 is about paramecium, and it says with food vacuoles that contain ingested cells of the unicellular green algae chlorella. So if it's ingesting material, it can't be an autotroph. If it's alive, it's obviously performing all of the functions of life. It's not a prokaryote, and it does carry out heterotrophic nutrition because it is eating something else, so it has to be C. So then evolution, you're looking for the definition of evolution, which is the change in heritable characteristics of a species. So that would be A. That's really the only one. I mean, that is the definition, so that has to be the answer there. Then question 6, what could be used as evidence for evolution? So you look at the 3 options and you think which of these could be. So selective breeding of domesticated animals, yes. The fossil record, yes. And homologous structures, yes. So the answer therefore must be D. So in question 7, what we're looking to do is, this would be a good moment to use that elimination strategy that we've talked about before. So the structure of monomers affects the structure and function of the polymers that they form. Which row describes the structural features of the polysaccharides made from alpha glucose and beta glucose? Okay, so alpha glucose, starched, unbranched, straight. So that row is correct. Beta glucose cellulose, branched and helical. That row is not correct. And actually, to be fair, it's not. That's sort of not really straight. You could argue that was straight. That was true because it's unbranched, but it is then helical, but also another part of it is branched. So anyway, let's just say that's not right either. Then alpha glucose, starch, branched and helical. That could be definitely correct. Is definitely correct, sorry. Beta glucose cellulose, unbranched and straight, that's also correct. So B is looking like a pretty good option now. So let's just check. Alpha glucose cellulose, no. Beta glucose starch, no. Alpha glucose cellulose, beta glucose starch, no. So our answer is B, and we fact checked it. So then insulin is a protein. In human insulin, there are 51 amino acids in 2 polypeptides. So how many peptide bonds are there in a molecule of human insulin? So this is one of those ones where you have to do that maths thing, right? It's the whole like how many gateposts you need in 100 meters. So so if you've got an amino acid, and a peptide bond, okay, so you're going to have 1 less peptide bond to the number of amino acids, because here you've got 3 amino acids and 2 peptide bonds, okay, but that's going to be in two sections. So in this case, you're going to have 2 fewer peptide bonds than you have amino acids, because it's in two polypeptides. So the answer needs to be 51 take away 2, which would be 49. So then question 9, cells use a variety of methods to move particles across membranes. What is the similarity between facilitated diffusion and active transport? So if we just stop and think about that for a second, both use proteins, both carry molecules across a membrane. So what could it be? Both are carried by proteins in the membrane. Yes, it could be. Both particles move against concentration gradient. No, no. And both move non-polar ions across the membrane. Not necessarily. So it is A. So then in multicellular animals, embryonic stem cells have the ability to differentiate into a range of cells with different functions. So what's the term used for what sort of type of potency is it for embryonic stem cells? Well, that is pluripotent, so that is A. Then we've got our surface area to volume ratio. So it's which one is going to be able to take up the most solution, essentially, isn't it? So we want the skinniest and smallest one, so that is going to be C. 12. What occurs at gas exchange surfaces in the lungs of mammals? So what we want to think about is which of these statements are true. Gases diffuse across a moist surface, correct. Concentration gradients are maintained by ventilation, correct. And water is lost, that is also correct. So the answer is 1, 2, and 3, so that is D. So then 13. In arteries, what are the functions of the lumen and the elastic fibres in the wall? So the function of the lumen is always going to be to allow the unobstructed flow of blood, so we can get rid of those two. And so then what's the function of the elastic fibres? That's to maintain the blood pressure, isn't it? So that is going to be that one there, so it's going to be B. In question 14, what conditions of temperature and pH are most suitable for coral reef development? So that was about 25 degrees and 7.8. So that's what you're looking for. So that is D. And then 15, you've got a bacterium that can cause the outbreak of the bubonic plague. It produces ATP in the presence of oxygen, but can produce ATP if oxygen is absent. So what does that make it? So it makes it a facultative anaerobe. So that is B. And in 16, you've got your black walnut secreting the chemical into the soil surrounding its roots, and that is the concept or the process of allelopathy. So that is C. So then 17, we're in Australia here, so we're thinking about a density independent limiting factor for a kangaroo. So what would be something which is density independent? So eutrophication probably doesn't really have anything to do with a kangaroo. Climate change in this context, I would say it's a bit too broad. You need to be a bit more specific if you're talking about that, and also that's more likely to be density dependent. Predation would be density dependent, and a forest fire would be density independent. So that is A. And then in number 18, last one of the multiple choice, how is the supply of nutrients and energy maintained in a stable ecosystem? So we're looking for the idea that we're cycling our nutrients and flowing our energy. So the answer is C.